Thoughts on Immortality or the Illusion of It, Part 3. You see, when I started this explanation, it was actually to explain to my friend why I don't believe in immortality. I don't believe in immortality. A lot of people have been looking for immortality, from like Egyptian pharaohs to like everybody in those cartoons, and movies. It was a big deal for a lot of old people. But uh, so this is your life, starting with this uh, smooth. So this is infancy. This is all of childhood, and then this is your midlife, which takes on different form and shape. And then, if you live longer, uh, a person who lives still like 80 or 70 maximum expectation in this day and age would stop somewhere around here, because that would be 17, 18, 19, late teens, the gap between. So this is your first decade and a half approximately, and this is like when you get the feel of how long a decade is. Time seems to move a little slower, and you would expect that the next stage, when people understand centuries, because this is like half a century, and so a person who has lived uh, up to here has lived like less than or equal to half a century. When people get to about this age, about 80, let's say, if you round it up a little, because most people live over the age of 70. When people are over here, they start to kind of get they kind of start to look at life in spans of generations, or so they may have grandchildren and children. A person on this side may have children, and therefore, so these pebbles were a little rougher, not done on purpose. They were just things that I picked up. But I interpreted it as, and you are free to interpret anything as anything. But so children, they may, they may, something may lead them to gather the experiences of the world, like their interpretation of the world may be a little rougher and out of shape. But in the middle age, because you might spend a lot more time with children and start to love children, you might go back to that metal stage, because this is metal, this is raw, and this is once again a little more refined. There might be a little more optimism here, because you kind of give up on trying to. And this is a book, because this is thicker, wiser. Rudyard Kipling's just a favorite author of mine. That has nothing to do with this. And if you keep on living like this, immortality is the problem that we face when we need to expand this into something even bigger. When you get to this stage, you might want to elongate it. Like, if you did live longer, you would know that life would start to feel like, you start wondering, like, what would be next? Like, this pillow, this chair, this fucking door, because I got the key from this. The door might actually make more sense because of the key and stuff. Because if the key could go back to infancy, the door would have some sort of connection to infancy as well. Generations or whatever kind of flip in this pattern. Now, in part 4, I will tell you why this is kind of a dumb idea. I'll start here. Well, imagine we do live longer. Imagine a person could live for like 500 years. That's several centuries. So this is less than or equal to a decade, a couple of decades. So one of these pebbles is like a few years, and one of these stages is like a few decades, and then this is like several decades. This is close to a century. If you live this much, you've already lived more than a century. And in the next stage, you would experience several centuries. So all of this put together times many times more. And imagine the Earth gets smaller, or the sun gets bigger, or we move to a smaller planet, hypothetically, and we do more revolutions around the sun. But we're still Earth humans, Terrans, and we have the same lifespans, right? Imagine, just hypothetically now, don't go chasing spaceships or waterfalls, the metaphoric waterfall. I'm going to end here and start a new one.